Hello and welcome to Top Fives, the show of everything. Top Fives, presented by the Sex Effects. I'm Joey Parati.
And I'm Sean Day.
And folks, I'm not going to bury the lead. We are deep diving into Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut. But before we get to all that, Jonathan Day, how are you, my friend?
I'm all right now. I literally just woke up from a nap that I set like 3 alarms from, like 5 minutes ago. I'm a little disoriented, but I'm sorry I was late on the show. But I really appreciate everyone at least tuning in and checking out.
We lost you, Shawnee. We lost you.
Yeah.
God,
this is the day of technical difficulties. Yes.
There it is.
So yeah, feeling okay. A little frustrated. All my shit's not working. So, but it's all good. Yeah, had just the weekend was pretty cool. My brother celebrated his birthday this last week, so happy birthday, Simon Day.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, and
Simon.
hopefully we'll get him on the show, some show sometime soon. And
Yes.
it's kind of crazy. I think I think we were talking about this the other day. Like, our younger brothers are like almost like, Matthew is going to be like 30
They're
years
men
old.
now.
Yeah, they're
fuck?
at that age now, which is,
When did that happen?
it's obvious because we're only so many years apart. But yeah, it's just where the time go, man. And it's my brother I think turned 29 a few days ago, so it's just like,
29.
man, yeah, it's
29.
like, it's
I'm lighting
insane.
a candle in Simon's honor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go.
Myers. It's a soy candle for Simon.
There you go. Soy candle
There we go.
for Simon.
It's really for all my farts.
Yeah. But kind of cool. Like, yeah, I was talking to my brother this morning, and he just finished watching the Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League, and he actually hasn't seen like the original version of it. So,
Oh man, he should.
yeah, I was actually like, you know what? Like, you could either do this. You could either watch like the old movie, the older version of it, and just kind of see make your comparisons from there. You can watch a comparison video on YouTube because there's plenty of those right now. But it was cool. It was cool. Like, he was pretty stoked off it for something he hasn't really seen. And yeah, that was a interesting conversation. And he just texted me back like earlier this morning saying like he finished it. So it's like, all the secrets are out. I could like, hey, this movie was like such a, it's like, it came out like in 2017, and it's, it's such a interesting time right now for us to be able to like watch something like this. So, but yeah, aside from the Justice League and that coming out too as well, doing pretty good. I just got my first vaccine shot for
Nice.
COVID.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's.
Did you get that today?
I got that yesterday.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad, and because of my work, like like food and agriculture workers can get it now, so that's super cool. I got the Pfizer shot, which is I think there's like, I don't know, there's like 3 different kinds or 4 different kinds of vaccines right now.
Yeah.
So, but I feel pretty good. Aside from just being a little tired and a little sore in my arm, that's kind of pretty much all the symptoms I'm getting. And
That's not bad.
yeah, and then I think it's like a week or 2 from now I have to just get the second shot, and then that's pretty much it. And hopefully I'll be a little more protected from COVID, and then hopefully a week or 2 from now more people will be able to get vaccinated as they're kind of rolling out in phases. So yeah, it's super cool that and it was super easy. Aside from just maybe booking the appointment and just trying to find like a time that's available, it was really easy. And it probably took me, aside from just waiting, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, just like going there, checking in, and getting the shot, and then leaving. And very interesting. After you do it, I think most places are doing this. They have you do a 15-minute observation sit down.
Yeah.
So after you get the shot, sit down for 15 minutes, and they kind of check in with yourself, and some people working there check in with you, just to make
Honestly,
sure you
that
don't have
sounds
any
like the
symptoms.
worst part to me. I
Yeah,
don't want to just have to fucking sit anywhere for 15 minutes just to sit there. Rather
yeah. It's
get hit by a
luckily
bus.
the place I got it at was like it was I think it was Cal State Pomona, like the school Pomona. So Pomona's like, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 minutes from Pasadena, kind of like that main area of Pasadena. And I gotta say, they compared to some of the COVID testing sites I've been to, and how a little sometimes they're disorganized, or maybe they're just not like, they're not really enforcing kind of like the 6 feet apart or whatever.
Really, the ones I've been to have all been super organized, super like you feel like you're in,
They
somewhere
started
very
that way.
organized.
Like I took a test and it was like that, but when they were like, yeah, we can like, there was like so there's no appointments, when they didn't have the appointment system in place, and just random
Gotcha.
people would just come up, and then
Ugh.
it's just like lots of people. So I'm happy with this. They were able to really 6 feet, and they put you. It's kind of crazy. It felt like an amusement park because they put you through all these different lines, and they have all the stickers for the 6 feet apart. Like, it was legit. Like, and then the stations were very obviously, it's you're administering a shot, and it's kind of like being a patient in a hospital. So like they had like they still had some private areas where you obviously you get to sit down and take the shot. So other than that, it was a good experience. And for anyone who has the ability to get the vaccine, or eventually will, I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm not saying you have or have to get the vaccine, but if you're want to be a little more protected, and I heard some stuff about COVID could possibly be just like a seasonal flu thing. I mean, that could be the case too. Like, I don't know if this is like we're gonna be administering these shots like yearly or seasonally. So yeah, it's kind of a weird time, and it's just crazy when I was standing there like in line, and just like, damn, like this is like a thing. Like, people are having to do this, and we see it in like movies and shit. And I know we have like the flu shot that we get, can get, but like I mean, it's always been real, but like, I don't know, just kind of drove home when I was standing there, just like, wow, like, most this is what's happening right now with our society in America. And like, yeah, man. But yeah, other than that, that's been cool. I hopefully didn't go on a vaccine rant, but it was well worth it. And yeah, hopefully I'll be just feeling good and protected at work. So, but
Right
anyways,
on.
Joey, how are you doing, dude? How are you,
I
buddy?
am also quite agitated. This is, I believe, my sixth Zoom meeting of the day.
Oh man.
So I'm ready to walk out my window. Because my
Yeah,
back hurts and I'm tired of staring at a goddamn screen. But we do it for the dear, sweet, lovely imaginary audience, for you,
we
the
do it for
little people.
y'alls.
Um, but we're gonna get into some fucking Justice League. And
Yeah, dude.
I'm stoked for that. Because we were gonna record our own reaction videos. I tried. I have maybe 6 videos that I tried to start them, and I kept getting in the weeds. I didn't know how to structure, because there's so many
It's a
fucking
lot.
layers. There's the
Yeah.
movie, but how do you talk about this movie without talking about the 2017 theatrical release? How do you talk about the 2017 theatrical release without talking about why Zack Snyder was removed in the first place, and why Joss Whedon was brought in, and what the differences are, and what's happened since, and Zack Snyder and his relationship to these characters and fandom? And holy fuck, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's a lot, dude.
So, whoops, I'm all right. And I'm just not even going to dispense with what I got up to and how drunk I got this past weekend. We're just going to go right into Justice League,
All right, all right.
hence the water. And that was part of the problem. I bought a 6 or a 12 pack of Coors Light just so I could talk about the
Yeah,
Zack Snyder's Justice League,
prepping
and
yourself for it.
I got too drunk. I couldn't, I mean, it was already hard, and the beers weren't making it any easier.
Yeah, I had
Instead,
a
I wrote a
similar
short story, and we're
situation.
good.
I like
Yeah?
I watched the movie in two parts, I guess. And I yeah, I was just I don't know, I was just so taken by it, and like, I just, again, it's just like, yeah, there's a lot to say about this, and yeah, I wanted to save it for our stream today, and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm just like, I don't
just so
know,
much
like
ground to
it's
cover.
weird because it's like there's like so many feelings I have about this movie, and they're like good, both positive and negative, and
And like at the end of the day, the movie, if let's not jerk ourselves. This is not high art. You know what I mean? Like this is not some deep philosophical fucking, you know.
it's, yeah, it's still,
I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if you're like, you just don't get it. I get it, sirs. I fucking get it. It's just not as smart as it wants you to believe it is. It's not as dark as it wants you to believe it is. It's not as deep. But I'm gonna say right off the bat, I liked it. I think
I liked it.
I had an okay time with it. Like it wasn't. I expect to be rolling my eyes and annoyed 75% of the time, and I only rolled my eyes and was annoyed 25% of the time, which I think is a vast improvement.
Yeah.
I think next to Dawn of the Dead remake, it might be my favorite thing Snyder has done.
Okay.
With the caveat here, this is one other layer that I've been thinking a lot about, and I think the reason I was able to enjoy this because when one of these heroes, and I love Batman. Batman is my guy. When a Batman movie or a movie featuring Batman is, in theaters, I kind of expect it to sort of be the filmmaker trying to do the definitive take on Batman.
Yeah.
And that is not what Snyder, I think he thought that. And then when people were like, this ain't fucking Batman, he's like, well, I'm deconstructing it. You don't understand. And then all the Snyhards, you don't understand. You're worshiping the Punisher in a Batman costume, but okay. What made it this release so much easier to kind of swallow is that it wasn't released in the theaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is this isn't really a movie. It's content. And now that Snyder isn't involved in the DCEU or whatever the hell they're calling it, it's not just content, it's Elseworlds content. And that's why I can approach this with a more open mind. But the fact that he was the, kind of the steward or whatever you want to call it, bringing Superman to the masses,
Hmm.
that feels wrong. You know what I mean? Why would you go that route?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then Batman v Superman came out, and you can go listen to our, I think it's episode 12 of this podcast where we go on for hours about that
Yeah,
movie.
man.
So 2017 Justice League was a movie that I would throw on for a laugh. I think it's up there with Batman and Robin with in terms of like poor filmmaking. I mean, it's its own thing. It's a Frankenstein of these two
Yeah.
very, very, very different directors, in styles and tones and reshoots. And poor Affleck, you can see he's just bloated as fuck in the reshoots in the 2017 version. Um, this felt authentic. It felt of a piece. None of it felt cheap. 2017 Justice League felt like a cheap movie. This don't
Hmm.
feel cheap. Um, I had fun with it. It felt like an event. It
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
Thursday, or I guess Wednesday night. I didn't watch till Thursday night. I went and I got a pizza from the street. I was like, okay, I know I'm settling down for 4 hours. People who fucking gave the Irishman shit should not open their, you know, they better have a problem with this. If you had a problem with 3.5 hours, you better have a problem with the 4 hour Snyder cut. Anyway, um, but it was an event. It felt like, when I was a kid, Friday nights, it was movie night, and my parents would get us pizza, and we'd sit there and we'd, almost have a slumber party in the living room. It was, and that's kind of, Lise came over, we got a pizza, and she didn't know shit about any of this. She hasn't seen any of them. Her superheroes aren't her thing. So I was like explaining it as we were going on, and it was enjoyable as an experience. As a movie, hard to judge because it's
Yeah.
not really a movie. It's a 4-hour piece of content broken up into 6 chapters with a prologue and an epilogue. And but yeah, it wasn't. I don't know.
I
What were your overall thoughts? What were
I
your overall feelings?
I feel you on the as far as it felt like an event. Like, we've been hearing about this the Snyder cut and the kind of stories behind it, and yeah, when Zack Snyder and HBO Max announced it, and it's like, yo, this is happening. Like, we're gonna
Dangerous
get this.
precedent.
Yeah, we're gonna get this this movie. And especially during this time with COVID and everything, it's going to be delivered to us this way, like streaming. And I could definitely say that the 4-hour long time, or the 4-hour length, was easier to swallow for the streaming for me for streaming.
Yeah.
I just like you, I thought it was like, it was like an event. It felt, I was talking to my brother about it. I was talking to all sorts of people about it. And yeah, I came into it, we talked about Justice League. I came into it kind of, remembering how I felt about that 2017 one. And it's going to be pretty obvious for a lot of people who've seen it. Like, of course they're going to have that in the back of their head. Like, they're going to be thinking about how they remember this movie and this cut of the movie, and, probably how different it's going to be when you watch this this cut of or this version of Justice League. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it was it's amazing the power of editing, man. I mean, like, and
Yeah.
I know they did some reshoots, and it was very interesting just hearing more of the story behind, like, when they were shooting this film. And it seems like Zack Snyder had this vision for what he wanted to do with
time out. Because yes, he did. But that opens up a whole other can of worms that we kind of do have to kind of get into, right?
yeah.
So yes, Zack Snyder absolutely had a vision for this thing, right? Turn on this light. Fuck, where was I going to go with that?
Vision. So it's not
Vision.
Zack Snyder's vision.
So, well, no. Well, yes.
Yeah.
If this movie had been released theatrically, it wouldn't have been released theatrically. Warner Brothers would have never put out a 4-hour R-rated Justice League. 1. 2, if Snyder had just put in the visual effects and released the cut that he had before he was taken off the movie, it's not this. The Snyder cut, the thing that everyone, the whole hashtag, all this, that's not what we got. We got a Snyder cut. We did not get the Snyder cut that would have come out in 2017 if he hadn't either been removed or walked away from the movie.
Yeah.
And not only that, he's had 4 years to not only look at Justice League 2017 and go, okay, well, that didn't work, that didn't resonate, that people didn't like that. He has had more time to think and connect and, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into it later, but Batman's arc felt, I don't think that would have been Batman in Justice League 2017 if Zack Snyder hadn't walked away from the film.
Got you.
That feels, especially Batman's arc, feels like something that I'm gonna prove to everyone that we were deconstructing and rebuilding it. I really don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's just my.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, yeah. The cut that we have right now is probably not 100% what was, if we had to release it that year or whatever. I think that's yeah, and of course that's obviously nice advantage, being able to see, obviously see the aftermath of this movie, and obviously where they're going with all the other movies and some of the DC characters they're trying to kind of focus on now. But
well, you're a creative, right? Like, do you ever go back and listen to songs that you recorded 4 years ago and go, oh Christ, I would do this differently?
Yeah,
right. I find pieces of writing or video and I'm just like,
Yeah, and that's important. I think it should be a good thing to go back and yeah, and to see it through that lens, with a little bit of time, and then yeah, obviously, kind of putting yourself back in your shoes of like how you were feeling when you're making that, or what, obviously there's the decisions and stuff, and some of the other things, but yeah, that is definitely, that definitely can garner like a more not safe, but like yeah, you can have
You
more.
can engineer it to be
You can
more
yeah,
successful.
you can and I did feel that watching the movie. I was like, I know what they're doing here. Like, I know like some of this stuff is probably what he had in mind in this cut, but like, man, yeah, they, I mean, I don't know how I can't really remember how the box office did. I mean, I'm sure they did.
It did worse than Man of Steel. It was like 623 million, I
That's
want to say,
right.
or something like that.
Yeah, I remember like just kept like the decline of the last few Zack Snyder DC movies in the box office. Or is it going without? Yeah,
657.9 million.
yeah.
BVS only did 872.
Man, that's interesting.
In a world where Captain Marvel crosses a billion, maybe Disney was buying tickets.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a very interesting situation because yeah, he's had the time to put it together and yeah, see it from all those different lenses and opinions and yeah, sometimes, and then of course, maybe it just sometimes just needs time to just sit and kind of see what what that becomes in the next few years, especially with changing times and stuff. But I gotta say, at least how I felt about it is, at least Zack Snyder was able to come back and do this, and at least, even if it wasn't the creative vision maybe he had in mind and executed during the when he was shooting that older version of it, but I still think it's incredible that he's like able to do this, and like yeah, just have like HBO Max just put it on their streaming site and we can watch like 4 hours worth of Justice League. And like hearing my brother's response this morning, it's like I think he saw Batman versus Superman and some of the other films. So he knew that they weren't as good of movies, or they weren't obviously well received, and that deterred him to watch the original Justice League from 2017. Sure. So he told me, he's like, dude, I actually really like that. I really like the movie. Like it was fun, and I think that's what it is. It's like it served for those 4 hours. It served what it had to, as far as just kind of showing us this kind of story with these characters. And I'm sure a lot of people, I think a lot of people are saying this, like the longer time, even though I feel like it did allow the audience to get more invested in the characters, especially with Flash and Cyborg, these two characters they kind of just introduced in this movie to begin with. I did feel like they could have cut like 30 minutes from this movie.
They could have cut 30 minutes of the woman singing to Aquaman.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. He goes
back and you like, Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of those moments, and I think I was listening. I'm trying to remember whose podcast I was listening to. It's either, I think it was like John Campia's podcast. Obviously Kevin Smith's probably talked about it, but I think it's not. They were saying, obviously, yeah, those things. There could be cuts and edits and things to make the movie tighter, but at least, like, if this is the movie that Zack Snyder wanted to put forward, and now you obviously you don't have. I mean, I probably wouldn't have watched it if it was like 5 hours, but like at least you don't have the limitation of like, hey, you gotta like make these times for the theaters to push your movie out. At least he was able to like just let it out, and just like, hey, I just want to do this, and I think they're not doing any more of these Zack Snyder movies from what I've heard. So it's so at least they just like he got his juices out on this one.
But
and
what's very interesting though, for as much more, there's one whole extra movie attached to this thing. For as much extra stuff as there is in it, it boils down to the same movie from 2017. We still get, the finale is still almost the same. And I almost preferred it in the 2017 version. Like, you know, we get there was so much talk about Superman's in the black suit, Superman's in the black. Okay, but why? They never explained to us why
Yeah.
he chose black. Like, okay, death, all right, fine, but if black is a signal, because as we saw in the epilogue, which we'll talk about, Superman does become evil in this universe. Like, wouldn't he? Isn't that usually like the black suit kind of deal? Like, why
Yeah.
why wouldn't he return in all his glory in the classic red and blue for the finale of Justice League? Instead, I don't know. And they do, you know, Hollywood does this weird thing like Spider-Man's black costume. You know, if you look at the comics, it's just a black ink blob with the white symbiote spider,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when they do it in the movies, it's the same suit as the red and blue, just painted black.
Painted black. Yeah.
And they did that with this, and it's like, but Black Super, or you know, Spider-Man in the black suit doesn't have a cape. He's got those silver gauntlets. He's got, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Huh.
there were
Okay.
cool things that they could have done that they just painted black. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fanboys lose their shit. It'll be fine.
No,
And
I
they
agree,
did.
man. Yeah. I don't know too much about like the origins of the black Superman suit.
I don't know enough about Superman to comment, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
he died after the Doomsday thing in 90 whatever, 1 or 2 or whatever that was, and
Yeah.
then after that there was the reign of the Superman, and like I want to say like 6 people claiming to be Superman all came and were like
To try to be. Oh, that's crazy.
try to yeah, and but the black suited Superman was him, and like he had a mullet, and you know, it was the 90s. They wanted to
Yeah.
reinvigorate the character and you know, give him a refresh, a relook, or whatever, rebranding. Yeah, that, I mean, as for as much hype as there was,
Yeah, it
one,
was
they
like-
blew their load because they showed us clips online of him in the black costume. Like, save that, you morons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, two, like, do something interesting with it. But I don't feel like they did. Have him turn evil. Have him, you know what I mean? Like, that could have been the real difference between these cuts.
Yeah.
When I kept hearing, oh, it ends on a cliffhanger. Eh,
Yeah.
did it? Not, it ended almost, which we, you know, we can talk about that now. If, you know, in the 2017 version of the film, the parademons smell fear, and Steppenwolf becomes afraid of the Justice League, and so the parademons attack and kill him. Which,
Right, yeah.
well, not great. I kind of liked it. I kind of
Yeah.
liked that the tables were turned on him. In this, Wonder Woman decapitates him, chops his head off, and the head rolls through a vortex or whatever, and Darkseid,
Yeah.
it goes under his foot or whatever. It's a fine visual, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that
This-
justice?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Man, there's so many like ways to go about like talking about this movie, man. Because like,
Yeah.
you know, it's got the rated R, you know, viewing. So there's like, I mean,
What do you think about rated R? These are people in onesies, colorful onesies,
Yeah.
fighting evil. Does it need to be rated R?
I don't know.
These are
They're like,
children's fantasy characters.
yeah, but it's, I don't know. It's tough because it's like, oh yeah, like in a world where we can see these characters just like Wonder Woman. When I was at that beginning scene with Wonder Woman, and she's like fighting those terrorist dudes. And
Bruce Bolton.
Bruce Bolton, yeah,
Yeah,
which I forgot he was one of the.
he's
characters
totally in it. Yeah, he drops an
Um,
F-bomb.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, rated R and F bombs. Like I don't know, that's another discussion too. But like, yeah, there's the moments where she's like getting rid of those dudes, and she like throws the guy up against the wall. You could see the blood splatter, and I'm just like thinking
That's
to myself,
right,
like,
yeah.
damn, these kids, like they must see how heroic she is, but like she's like legit killing these dudes in front of kids.
legit killing in front of children. And then the one girl goes, "Can I be like you?" I called it. Like, as soon as like they made eye contact, she's gonna be like, "Can I be like you? Can I be like you when I grow up?" You can be anything you want to. Everyone is like Gal Gadot. Every time Gal's on screen, I'm sorry, she can pose.
Yeah,
She's not a good actress, man.
Yeah, And you know what? Like, I think
She
in
always looks confused.
yeah, I think in due time for her, but yeah, I think that was they're obviously they're putting more screen time for one, because Wonder Woman is such a the first one movie was just such a big hit or whatever, and,
Yeah.
and the most successful movie out of this franchise in some way or form.
She's not bad, but if you watch Wonder Woman 84, she's out of her league. Acting against Kristen Wiig, acting against Pedro Pascal, acting
Pascal,
against
yeah.
Chris Pine. Chris Pine, she's out of her league.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just she
that
has a
movie.
very, very limited range, and the smile goes a long way. Her smile is very warm and it's sunlight, but it doesn't make her a good actress, doesn't make her Wonder Woman, as far as what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
fine. We could have had a lot worse, but
yeah.
it almost feels like people are rushing to, like, oh, let's praise her, I mean, it's just like, well, let's be real about it, you know
Let's
what I
be
mean?
yeah.
She ain't that
Yeah, that that moment was because that was in that was in the original Justice League, that moment where the terrorists kind of come in. I think it was just a little bit more extended, or there's
yeah,
more shots in
yeah.
it or something like that.
It was very, very quick in the 2017 version.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much you could probably nitpick with like the first half of the movie, but like yeah, the hi dude. Um yeah, I don't know, like I think those hero moments, I feel like we had a few more. I was like, I think
Yeah,
they tried to do that, I think,
yeah.
with most of every character, at least, to kind of drive home, like, even though they have maybe these powers or responsibilities, obviously, right? You have the choice to do something good or something bad with it, right? So uh so I guess going off of that, I actually really did like how they kind of made Cyborg's character one of the main kind of characters we follow, and we kind of get more about him in this movie, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And I there's a little bit, I guess, controversy with the movie because yeah, they cut out a lot of his scenes, and I don't know if this is true, but I feel like they were pitching it like Cyborg was going to be that character in the 2017 version, and then it just got like kind of pushed to the side, and that's
Derailed.
why, yeah, and that's why Ray Fisher, the actor, has been very vocal about
He's been very
that
vocal
role and
about
everything.
racism within
Yeah, yeah,
Warner
and that,
Brothers and
yeah,
the abuse of Joss Whedon. And I don't know enough to speak on it. I'm sure the truth is somewhere kind of in the middle,
yeah,
because there has been multiple investigations, and everyone is being like, no, Walter Hamada complied with the investigation. I mean, I'm sure, this is Hollywood. These are powerful people. I'm sure some shit went down, but I'm sure not everyone's telling the truth. But unfortunate situation all around.
yeah,
I think to paint it as him simply being angry that he had his screen time was cut, I don't want to believe that. I don't think that. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
There's obviously
This is his
more.
first movie. There's no way he's going to be that demanding unless he doesn't want to have a career, you know. Um, but yeah, good on him for
Yeah,
calling it out. If it all happened, it probably did. So
yeah, and yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect, and it's I'm not saying like we've seen these kind of tropes throughout like kind of superhero movies or whatever, but I really did like that. He had you can kind of see more of his motivation behind what he's doing, and
his mom's in this movie.
his mom, yeah, his
We had
mom's in
not
the
seen his
movie.
mom before. We
Um,
understand much better like why he has a gripe with his dad.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
which we didn't really get um, before. So yeah, it just those small scenes, and I know it obviously extends the movie a little bit further, and but it does give you kind of more light on like who these people are, especially when you're kind of introducing these characters like kind of in this movie
for the
alone
first time, yeah,
for the first
absolutely.
time, and you have to, even though you kind of have 4 hours to do it in this version, yeah, you have to.
Well, do you really have 4 hours when every other shot is a 2-minute slow motion tracking
Yeah.
sequence. You know
And
what I mean? It's just
that's
like, okay.
that's another bone I have to pick with Zack Snyder. I think there are some things that, you know, I think we've said this before. It's like, you know, Zack Snyder is a very visual director, and you know, some of the stuff I've seen him do in some of his older movies or previous movies, and including this movie, you know, there's some really like amazing shots in this film, and you know, I think we've said before, sometimes the story kind of gets, you know, it's more
Oh,
the visual over
takes
the
a back
story.
seat. Yeah.
And you know what, I've come to accept that, at least, and you know, at least that's like, okay, I'm just in this movie to like see some really cool, you know, scenes. You know, I'm familiar with some of the Justice League characters from like the animated show, and like, you know, what we know about Justice League. But yeah, the slow-mo, it's useful at times for certain maybe situations, but I thought, you know, it's, I know it's such a signature thing for Zack Snyder, but man, like Wonder Woman throwing the briefcase up in the air and just watching it, like, for, you know, that's where that cutting
Yeah.
board of like, yeah, that like 30 minutes to an hour or so
In
could,
almost every instance of slow motion, it could have,
oh, it just could have
it
been just
went on too
cut
long.
just a little.
Went on way too long. Like,
Um,
Jesus.
and yeah, like it looks super cool, especially with, you know, the Flash's characters, like, you know, like, of course.
Let's talk for a second about the fucking
Yeah.
Flash, okay?
Man, I don't know
Let's
how
go
to
on
feel
to the
about this
Flash.
dude, man. It's,
Um,
oh man,
I
yeah.
don't know that I liked him more in this version.
I would
His
agree with
jokes
you.
were still lame. They were not. Everyone's like, "Oh man, the trash that Whedon wrote, nothing." It's the same shit. It's on par. Like, it's not better.
Yeah.
And the scene with where he goes to get the job and he saves Iris West, and you don't know that's Iris West. If you're watching it, you have no idea who Iris West
Who it
is,
is.
and you don't know, hello, that she was cast as Iris West. You wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
All you would see is this guy getting a look from a pretty girl in a car, and then, you know, there's the accident or whatever, and he saves her. But as he's saving her, one, there's all these hot dogs flying around them in slow motion, which were just, you know, symbolism beyond what I want to get into on this podcast. And then he's like touching her face and caressing her hair, and like, it really
Yeah,
and
it creeped
then,
me out
you
a
know,
little bit.
creeped me out, especially when everyone's like, oh, can you believe Joss Whedon had him like land on top of Wonder Woman, you know, in that one scene with the Nightcrawler.
Oh,
And
I
it's like, well,
remember
that
that.
wasn't
Yeah.
nearly as creepy as this. And
Yeah.
then add on top of that, Ezra Miller back in April was in what,
Oh,
Iceland or wherever the fuck, and got
mhm.
into that, and he choked out a fan. A woman like put his hands on her and brought her to the ground, and like people had to, like, you know,
Restrain him and stuff.
pull him off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all around, the Flash in this movie leaves a bad taste in my mouth. If he had actually sacrificed himself at the end and become like a lightning bolt, like I believe he does in the Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever it is,
Mhm.
that would have been kind of a powerful moment, because he's saying goodbye as he's running in slow motion, and yet nothing happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Man,
where's the weight?
that
Where's
makes
the
me think
weight?
of that last scene, because, yeah, I think you're right. There's, it's almost like as the audience, it's like, yeah, they kind of wrote Flash to be like, you should kind of already know who Flash is, you know, to some degree. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna say like what I've just listened to so many like podcasts in the last few days about Justice League, and you know, there are some points that I agree with and disagree, but yeah, I felt the Iris West scene, which we didn't get her name, but yeah, yeah, it was an opportunity to show his ability, so I get that, but it just was kind of an unnecessary scene. Like, I think
And
they
it
could
went
have,
on for what, like 8 fucking
yeah,
12
and that's,
minutes or
yeah, and
something
that's
in
that
slow
slow mo
motion.
shit
It's just like,
that we can
Jesus
cut out.
Christ.
You know, have him maybe, you know, stare at her for a second just to admire her, how, you know, how pretty she is, and then that's it, and then just grab the hot, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's how I wish it could have went. Where it's just like him just like staring at her and like, oh, I'm so in love with this girl I've never met before.
It makes you wonder what else he would do in slow motion.
Yeah,
If
it was
he's
a little
gonna
creepy.
like touch her face, and it's like,
Yeah, and it's
this
like
feels gross.
it's happening so fast for her. So like, do you think she like? And then that's the weird thing. It's like, did she know that like he was there in that moment? Like, I don't know. I was like having that weird thought of like, she probably knows this now. Like, and of course after that scene ends, he kind of speeds her out. He kind of gets out of there, and she kind of, she sees that ability that he has. That was kind of interesting, but. Yeah, and then the burger guy, the dude just drops his burger on the floor. I thought it was kind of like a lazy kind of
Oh
cop
yeah,
out.
I forgot about that. Burger looked
Y-
good
oh
though.
yeah,
That was the best movie burger I've seen in so long.
yeah.
Maybe since
The
Good
random,
Burger.
I was so confused because I was like that random like slow mo shot of the seed coming off the
Yeah.
burger. I was like, what? So yeah, I just felt like that could have been, if anything, if it's like if you're just trying to introduce us to a scene where Barry's using his powers, I don't think you necessarily need Iris there, or you know, like it could have gone a specific way, and it's like, yeah, maybe he's just doing this job interview and he sees this thing happen like in a car crash or whatever, and saves the person there, and that could have been a nice tighter scene to show you like, hey, this is what Barry's powers is. When he does his Speed Force stuff, his shoes like fly off. I thought that was pretty cool. And he runs in this. This is how we're seeing it in his world. That could have been an opportunity to. I could see why they put that in there, but I didn't think it was the right. It wasn't just the right way to introduce that. I think
Definitely not. Yeah. And like, why not save the guy eating the burger? He's
yeah,
gonna get fucked up
exactly.
from that car crash.
Yeah. I don't know how you keep your eyes
Instead,
off the road for that long, but yeah, I thought it was very. I felt that was a very lazy scene, and I know it wasn't that they obviously shot that, but they were about to like that was like a deleted scene or something, or like I remember
I believe
seeing
so.
that
Yeah.
like before this movie came out, either as an extra or like a deleted scene or something.
There was a few things that I was surprised weren't Whedon that were Snyder.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
I was thinking of
I
some
was like,
stuff too, man.
what?
Yeah.
There's one scene, speaking of deleted scenes, like this is exactly what would end up on a DVD extra. The scene where Wonder Woman is talking to Alfred while Alfred is making like those plates for the bat suit that absorb and release energy, and she's like trying to make tea and he's teaching her how to make tea, and it's like, she's 3,000 years old.
Yeah.
How does she not know how to make tea by now? And then she has that line about, oh, I like that, maybe when you're done you can make me a lasso in black, of course. And it's just such a
Yeah.
it just annoyed me. It just fucking bugged me, because there's a certain I don't dislike Gal Gadot, but it's just, she does that smile in black, of course, and it's just like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's grating. It's not cute. It's not endearing. It's just kind of, we get it.
Yeah.
I get it. We all like, stop.
I've got a feeling that there's gonna be some super fan out there that's gonna recut this movie again and make like
Probably
a tighter version of with some of the elements. Yeah.
Oh, they already did. They released it in 2017.
Yeah. It's already there, just with different
2 hours.
color grading and a different Steppenwolf face.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, actually, like that moment, those moments are like, it's like, do we really need that moment in the movie? Like the tea thing, I know it's like, she's like that old, but I could see it from like Alfred's perspective, where he's always been like,
he has to do it very precisely.
Yeah, he's always been the caretaker for Bruce, and so I get, and I laughed a little bit because I was like, oh, it's like probably just English people and their teas and stuff. But there were some of those scenes that like we did got additionally in there to kind of give us those moments. But there were a few scenes where I didn't feel like it's like, yeah, it could have been that like the 2017 version of the movie with, all that excess fat off of it, and then, kind of these small improvements. Like that's where I thought the movie could have been at. Um,
Yeah.
and like, we'll probably eventually get to the dream sequence at the end.
Yeah,
And
we're gonna get there. I've got a list.
I'm like so split on it because yeah, I
We'll
just
get
don't.
there. We'll get there.
So yeah, so we yeah, those scenes were, so we have Cyborg, Flash. We're getting some extra scenes from those guys.
What'd you think of Aquaman?
Uh, I don't know. I did like that scene where, because I don't think this was in the 17 one, but the with William Dafoe's character.
Yeah.
I actually have not seen the Aquaman movie that
You haven't seen Aquaman?
came out yet. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I think you'd like it.
and that's the thing. I am curious to watch it now because there's obviously the kind of the lore behind the people of Atlantis, and I did like that. Out of all the kind of additional scenes or the scenes that we put in, I get that it was nice to have that scene with William Dafoe's character, kind of showing Arthur Curry and his is he going to take up the mantle as king, and kind of diving a little bit deeper into his kind of personal struggles, I guess, with that, and grappling with that aspect of his life.
It made the Mira scene make a little more sense.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was like, some of this Mira stuff, it's like I kind of remember, like I feel like he met her, they did that whole air bubble thing. But yeah, I think there's a few more scenes with her in it, and she's kind of, yeah, obviously she knows, like, oh, I'm you have a right, you're the rightful heir, but also a responsibility for your family. It just drove home a little bit more on that part. So I think that was a positive as far as like, yeah, I got more out of Aquaman. I don't mind his one-liners. My man, like he seems like he's just having a fun time throughout the whole movie.
I enjoyed him.
I really did enjoy him. The Jason Momoa taking off his shirt like 3 or 4 times in the movie. Like, okay, I know why you're putting that in the movie, but it's like we didn't need that. But I don't know. I wish I knew more about the Aquaman character. And I don't know if it was just it would be too much because can he talk to like fish and animals?
Yes, kind of. Watch the solo. There's too much. There's no way they could have given him a proper introduction in Justice League.
Yeah.
Because James Wan really does build Atlantis to be its own world and everything.
Okay. So yeah, I think for what they gave us in this movie and a little extra, it was enough for me to kind of get an idea of like who he is, and we get his hero moment too where he saves that sailor, and he like brings him in. He's like whiskey, and it's just like you can already tell like, oh yeah, he's still trying to figure out his like who he is, and like obviously his from what I remember is like his mom is human, I think, or is it the other way around?
No, his mom is Nicole Kidman, who is anything but. But no, she is Atlantean.
And like his father's a human, right?
Human,
like
yeah.
Hybrid. So yeah, I at least they give you like a little bit of that, just kind of like, hey, I'm from both worlds. I'm trying to save people, from both worlds in some way or form. So I did like that, and then there are a few moments though, like the Superman resurrection fight where they're all confronting him. I noticed a few like additional scenes where I think like Flash runs in, Superman dodges Flash, and then he runs into like Aquaman. And there's a little like that little moment where they're just like, he just points at him. He's just like, come on, man, like that's not. I didn't mind that stuff. But
no,
yeah.
I thought I was surprised by the amount of sweetness there was in this movie.
Yeah.
For as dark and metal and shit that it got to be, there was a lot of heart as well. But that's also a thing where I don't think that would have appeared in the original Zack Snyder 2017 version. I think that is a 2021.
That's something that he obviously added or considered adding later on in the stage. Yeah, and yeah, most of that, most of the movie, it's yeah, I could still kind of remember like that last version, and I think we were kind of talking about some of the differences between the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut. There are some. There's actually one part that I noticed, like I was just thinking about it yesterday, and then I listened to a few podcasts, and some people pointed this out. And going back, the scene where they're confronting Superman after they resurrect him, and obviously the key is or that's what they were.
Yes,
The key is
the
Lois.
big guns. Bring out the big
Bring out
guns.
the
It's
big
Lois Lane.
guns. Yeah, I actually liked that
I liked that a lot
aspect
as
of the
well.
Whedon cut, to
Yeah.
show like obviously Batman getting involved, and obviously
But to know, to trust Superman's human heart, that he would,
yeah,
you know, turn for this girl or woman, I mean, yeah, I missed that. I thought that was good.
yeah,
Real quick, I'll go down my list of what I missed about the 2017 cut. That the parademons killing Steppenwolf, red and blue Superman. I don't really like it, but the whole when Batman says to Flash, save one person,
yeah.
you
That
know,
that I remember
that
that
was
line. Yeah.
good. And then my favorite thing from the Justice League 2017 was when Aquaman is like, "We're gonna die. I don't want to die. I'm young. I got shit to do." And then it turns out he's sitting on the lasso of truth. Um,
Oh yeah. You know what? I forgot about that. That whole moment where they're in the ship,
I
right?
really liked that scene, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, that was
That oh man.
that's what I missed from the 2017 version.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like those subtle differences, like even going back to the beginning, right? Like the intro, the credits for is different, and there's like you could take there's you could take a lot from both versions, right? Like I liked in the Whedon version where it's the death of Superman, like the world is mourning Superman. This is the aftermath of what happened in Batman's versus Superman, and to see that interlaced with obviously with Lois and her grieving, um, it was impactful, especially to start the movie like that. Like like Superman's dead, man. Really brought that home. But I did like how Zack's version had a more of a reasoning behind waking up the mother boxes, and it's the voice of Superman, and letting these outside forces know that the world's strongest being that's protecting this
Yeah,
planet is dead. And and obviously now it obviously introduced us into the different worlds that we're in, or the different heroes and their their where they're coming from, and the more reasoning behind the mother boxes, which they had to kind of explain that thing to us throughout this movie. So it's interesting to kind of go back and like think about, like, yeah, there are aspects that I liked about the 2017 version, and the different choices they made to either show this like grieving or emotion, or if it's humor, and trying to get those things across. So there are moments I did like from the Whedon cut of it, I guess, the
yeah.
Frankenstein cut.
Um,
But yeah, I don't know. This movie, it's like I was entranced by watching it, and it's like, yeah, I'm all in it for just this experience, at least. I
yeah.
think that's
Oh, absolutely.
the thing. It's like yeah. There's so many things we can nitpick about this movie, which is
It's almost
yeah,
pissing me off that people aren't. People are like,
yeah,
I'm
man,
just liking it for what it is. Fuck
yeah.
you.
I mean,
Rate it
celebrate it.
on how you would everything else.
Celebrate it. It obviously for
But
Zack
then take it to
Snyder.
task.
Yeah, and especially. I was about to go get serious, but I mean, it's I mean, probably most of everyone probably knows the situation that happened with his daughter
Yeah.
during the filming, and you know, weirdly enough, the fandom kind of moving forward and trying to get this movie out there, and I didn't realize that some of the fandom, although some of it's obviously toxic. I feel like there's a lot of toxic fandom these days. It was good at least that some of these fans demanding this cut, also were like trying to save and donate for like mental health awareness and all that kind of stuff. Like there was like it was weird, like it was dedicated to obviously his daughter, and there was a movement like behind it that maybe I wasn't aware of. Like I was like, oh wow, like there's like some people and causes behind this movie, and maybe this is
Yeah.
what it represents to Zach now.
Boy, you want to go down that path? You want to open up that can of worms? You want to
I
talk
don't know.
about this for a second?
I don't know.
Because because I've been on Twitter the last couple of years, and just fuck, dude, I Zack Snyder fans are just, there is a level of toxicity to it, and there is like, because they were convinced it's finished, all they got to do is release it, and that was never the case. That was never the case.
Never the case.
They were always going to have to spend tons of fucking money to finish this thing. And yes, I mean they superimpose Zack Snyder's face onto images of Christ, and it's just like, okay, it's these, what I have to imagine kids being like, I like cinema, Zack Snyder and Quentin Tarantino, and it's like, that's Christopher Nolan? Okay, that's all you know. Very good. Yes, they raised money, and that was wonderful and a beautiful thing. My concern going forward is, are more movie studios going to capitulate and give in to fan demands? Because that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now fans are going to feel entitled, and they're going to get even louder. And I and like, okay, I was having beers with our good friend Andrew Hopkins a couple weeks ago, and he is not into this shit at all. This is not his bread and butter. And so I asked him, do you know about Zack Snyder's Justice League? And he's like, no, what's that? This is a week before release. And I'm like, Justice League that came out in 2017. He didn't really remember. And I was like, okay, but there's this movement on Twitter called the Snyder Cut. And he's like, okay, I have heard of that. So people know about the Snyder Cut, but the general audiences don't give a shit about this. And I think HBO Max is going to get a lot of subscribers, and those subscribers are going to go away right after they watch this movie. And I don't think it's going to do what they think it's going to do.
Yeah.
I think they're overestimating how big the hardcore fandom is. My mom doesn't know, my mom knows about Avengers. She don't know about the Snyder. You know what I mean? Like there's people that you can kind of pull. Fans are a very specific breed, and we think that everyone takes this shit as seriously as we do. And I don't understand this. I think it sets a dangerous precedent.
I think you're right. I mean, that's a good way to look at it too. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to like to talk about it or think about it, because I mean, you have like
that. Everyone's so goddamn sensitive these days.
You have the fandom like that, and then you have like obviously the choices of like the studio, and obviously they paint the 2017 Justice League version of the movie like that was like a fuck up on on the studio, like
it's blasphemy.
Yeah. So it's like this. It's trying to like walk that fine line of you want to give your directors and the people making these movies, at least some sort of creative influence and I wouldn't say control, but like it's still a movie. They still have to, whatever is on the page has to be put together. But I think I think that's gonna be important in the future, is like being able to see that this director or is really passionate about this movie, or is really into like envisioning or putting this character into like reality, and also having that mutual respect with the fans. Like it's a tough one. I do hope fandom gets less toxic as we go, and maybe
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. With the birth of the internet, there will always be
it's only gonna get worse.
And
fans, like if I'm speaking to fans, like, WB didn't do this for you. HBO Max didn't do this for you. It's not, it's a win for the fans, yes, but not really. It was done in a cynical attempt to get subscribers to a, you know,
Yeah.
flailing streaming service. That's all that
Still,
it's just a piece of content. They can
yeah,
dress it
still
up as we were
business.
giving the director, the means to finish his vision. And I mean, yes, that's true, but why? Because they needed subscribers.
Yeah.
That's the only reason this came about. You know what I mean? Like,
It's that sad reality of like, well, yeah, they got to make
commerce,
they,
baby,
I got to make some money, dude.
show
So,
business.
um,
Um,
but
all right, we're getting on the weeds here.
okay,
We've got three more characters to talk about,
okay,
and then we'll talk about that epilogue,
okay.
and then anything else we want to talk about. I'm gonna save Batman for last. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so let's
Man.
talk about Steppenwolf real quick.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf and Darkseid, I guess, together. Um, I think his armor is ridiculous. I think it looks like something out of a Rob Liefeld kind of, 90s. Oh,
Yeah.
like everything is going to have spikes.
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ. And then he's got that itty bitty little face.
I know. You know what?
Butthole face.
That was my
like,
negative
what?
about him. Like at first he was like, "Oh, this is like he like seems a little more menacing," and I think they changed his voice or something.
No,
But
well, maybe they changed the effect, but it's the same actor. It's
same guy.
it's Mance
Okay.
Raider. It's the King Beyond the Wall.
Oh shit! No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steppenwolf. They gave him more scenes, I guess, in this movie, and I think there is more context as far as like why he was there, and I think kind of, like the movie does a better job at explaining like the mother boxes. The anti-life equation thing took me a second to kind of like think about, but I was like, all right, it's kind of like you can mind control like everyone pretty much. So like maybe the threat of the mother boxes and that kind of stuff like wasn't as apparent, and it wasn't as urgent. And Steppenwolf kind of coming in, and again we're going into like, oh yeah, there was this guy Steppenwolf in the other version of the movie, so like we're expecting this dude. I don't know, the redesign. It does. I mean, it looks better to say that, like at least it looks better than what I remember. This I just thought the CG was,
well, the other one just
good.
didn't look finished. Yeah,
it didn't look as finished, and and I from what I remember, like the older Steppenwolf, he had kind of more of a like medieval kind of like looking armor. And I didn't mind that. I kind of liked his, it kind of gives him a sense of like, kind of elegancy, and like when I always think of like Game of Thrones, like some of those characters who are just so, they're you can look at them and they just take away, they kind of steal the scene or whatever. But yeah, he did have more to do, and I'm still kind of split on the Darkseid part of it because I don't know too much about Darkseid.
I don't know anything about any of these.
Yeah, and it was like, is this being put here? Was it in the original, like the original kind of creation of this? When Zack Snyder was making Justice League a few years ago, like was this the idea that they were going for? And I could see he's kind of like it's funny to compare it, but like a Thanos level kind of villain.
That's I think the equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, they're trying to, this was probably, I don't know, this is probably what was the plan maybe for the older films. Like maybe we'll kind of have a bigger bad guy, and then maybe the Steppenwolf dude is just the one he'll like work under. So at least they had that dynamic where it's like, okay, he has someone he's like obviously speaking to, so it gives these moments for him to, you kind of get a little bit of his backstory. The 50,000 worlds, conquering 50,000 worlds thing was a little ridiculous. I'm like, how who signed you up for this, man? Like, is it this gives you joy and pleasure in your life, like to conquer worlds as a slave to this dude Darkseid? So, and then you don't get too much really about like where they're from, and like why they're doing this.
And when they did give us a little bit, like they're like, you betrayed Darkseid. I'm making it up to him. Blah, blah. It's like, you're not giving me enough to give a fuck.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? You're acting like I should be invested and care, and this is 4 hours, four
yeah.
hours.
If anything, like I would have if they really wanted to make that stronger, I would have cut, obviously all the stuff we were talking about cutting in the movie. Hey, yeah, give us a freaking scene where they're confronting each other, like Steppenwolf and maybe Darkseid are confronting each other
Or
more about that.
Steppenwolf and Wonder Woman one on one, right? They could have kind of a
Yeah,
powerful moment. And I mean, he gets a line in here and there during the big fight,
Amazonian.
right? But like, if they had a one-on-one scene and maybe he like almost kills her or something,
Yeah,
um, that could be that could have been powerful. That could have been really, and you could have learned more about him and their history and blah blah blah.
yeah, because
Um,
it's like weirdly enough, the Amazonians. I mean, they're I think they got some good time in this movie too. But yeah, if anything, and I know maybe it's her mom that could be that character to like tie her to like maybe if it's like Steppenwolf's kind of quarrels with her mom and the Amazonians. He kind of every time he always addressed with or he's talked to Wonder Woman, he always addressed like her and her sisters in the Amazonians, which that makes sense. They're all together and they're kind of one people or whatever. But if they had that more personal, like your mother and like I fought her in this war and like and maybe
yeah,
if they had more of a like a thing there, then at least they would have more of a connection. And not saying like Wonder Woman has to get revenge or whatever the hell, but like yeah, at least there's like that moment where they like oh I've heard of you, like you've done this to my my people or whatever. I don't know. There could have been like more they could have gone with that, and to kind of strengthen more of the because I'm intrigued by the DC lore and especially like
correct.
the stuff that they're showing us in some of these scenes. We have that the old gods or new gods scene where all these like Zeus and all these dudes are and the Green Lantern are fighting off Darkseid and Steppenwolf and all these invaders and stuff. So like like that's why I'm cool with that. Like that's crazy. You don't see that all the time, and that's it's like this kind of crazy mythology behind DC and their worlds and stuff like that. So that part's intriguing. But getting more of that, it's kind of like when like the weakest point I felt with like Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie was the bad guy. Like at the end, it just
Yeah,
kind of felt it
yeah,
just kind of fell off. But I did like the talk about the god of war and Diana, she talks about him throughout the movie and and then kind of the end it's just more of a kind of just battle it out kind of thing where
yeah.
uh weirdly enough like that's one thing I liked about the WandaVision and the spoilers for the last episode for WandaVision, when Vision has that confrontation with Vision and they talk about it and that you can learn more about why they're having this conflict with each other, and
Yeah.
it makes the stakes higher. So I think those are things that they could have done to really kind of drive home, and especially with Steppenwolf, like you get like a taste. You get a little taste of like why he's there, but it's not as a big impact right there and then to make you give a fuck about him. But his little tiny little face. It's like, did they make
his little puckered butthole
dude? It's
face.
like, did they make that choice to make him look like he's having these emotions and feelings and yeah, I don't know. I looked at
It was bad. It was
yeah, I
bad.
looked at a still of like the last the Whedon Steppenwolf, and even though the CG is like whatever, like I liked that. Like he looked like
It looks like a PS2 character, but I
yeah.
still prefer that
I like
design.
his portions. That's to say, like his
Yeah,
portions in
yeah,
his face
yeah,
and stuff. So yeah, I think that was another part that I felt like could have been stronger. You're reintroducing Steppenwolf, and kind of he was like one of the big complaints too about the 2017. Like, yeah, this dude looks like shit. Like, what's going on with this character? Like, we don't really care for him. So they did give us those little moments, but yeah, I think I wanted more just to like, hey, I get it, like, but yeah, just it didn't hit as well for me. And
Right.
the scene at the end where like Wonder Woman's cutting off his head, like, yeah, it didn't play as like strong as I thought it would by the end by the time I got to that
Because
part of the
who
film.
cared? Who cared at that point?
Exactly, yeah.
Um,
That was that tough part, and that's a hard thing to do with a movie, and you have, but like you have 4 hours to do it,
Jesus.
and I think that was one part I felt like didn't really hit for this version. So
Yeah.
yeah, Steppenwolf,
Yeah.
dude.
Um, we can talk about Martian Manhunter. Fuck it. Um, I thought this was terrible, honestly. Um, I like seeing. I always screw up his name. Is it Henry Lumax,
I think
who played the
Lomax.
the
Yeah,
general or whatever he is in
yeah.
Man of
He was in
Steel, and
Man of
he's in
Steel, right?
BVS. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, the choice to have him appear where they did, which is clearly a reshoot. Um, Hi, Stranger29 in the chat.
What's up?
So you have this actually beautiful scene between Diane Lane and Amy Adams talking about the death of Superman and grieving and trying to move on and how hard of a time she's having. And it's actually a very human scene, and they do a good job with it. And then Diane Lane walks out and the door closes and she becomes Martian Manhunter, becomes Henry Lomax. And you're just like, well, that just deflates all of the emotion that
Dude,
you
you
had
know what?
just seen.
I felt the same way. Like, and if you don't really know who like Martian the Manhunter is, like, I feel like
What the
that scene
fuck?
would be so confusing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I really liked that moment between, and I think that's the thing that also changed between the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut, is like the kind of interactions with Lois and Kal-El's mom. And I like that. That was like a nice moment, because it's obviously a hard conversation, and it's how are they both feeling about losing such an important person in their life in that moment. So with the whole like transformation, kind of fell a little short. Like, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, March the Manhunter. It's funny because I watched I still I haven't caught up or currently watch it right now, but I've watched the CW, like Flash and some of these shows, and they've introduced Martian the Manhunter,
That's
and
right.
I've seen like Justice League animated shows, and I like Martian the Manhunter. I like his character. He's a very interesting guy. I don't think this was the right way to introduce him in the
Yeah.
movie.
He's one of if you've ever read DC The New Frontier by Darwin Cook, he's one of the main characters in that, and it's so good. And his I don't know how to pronounce it. I think the human name that he takes is John Jones.
Okay.
Um and he's like a detective, and it's very cool. He can be anyone, so him being the general or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But him appearing at the very end to talk to skinny Ben Affleck, um, Anna de Armas era Ben Affleck, um, and to be like, all right, I wasn't gonna help you guys, but now I will help you in the future, and your parents would be proud of you, Bruce. And it's just like, you guys don't know each other.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not earned. This is fan servicey fan
Yeah.
film bullshit. And I'm sorry. Like, it just
Yeah.
fucking
It
eye roll.
definitely.
And the design wasn't even
Yeah. Yeah. I got to keep thinking, like, hey, if I didn't know who this character was, like, how would I feel about this?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and yeah, I felt, yeah, that it's, if anything, it's like, if you're going to put him in the movie, at least just like some of the other stuff we've talked about, it's just like, you got to have at least a purpose, or if there's a personal connection with someone, if it's like Marsh the Manhunter knew, like, yeah, Bruce's parents, and like, we didn't, that conversation didn't really happen. He just kind of said, hey, your parents would be proud. Like, you kind of have to like almost like piece it together. Like, did he like know them? Like, did he have a good friendship with them or something? Or So it's there's moments where it's just like that would have been like the like I would have cut that out if I was gonna make a Sean
Yeah.
Nate cut of the with this
Well, it's supposed to
the
be Green Lantern.
oh
And even then, I don't think mass audiences know
it's
who the fuck Green Lantern
yeah
is. No one saw the Ryan Reynolds movie.
yeah and it's and that's the part that's been uh so like the thing I like for most superhero movies from what I've seen is like, and you know Marvel does it all the time, is like you got to have like, you know, you have like the civilian and then the hero, kind of like, you know, Clark Kent and, you know, Superman, like his duality of, you know, that. But with that, you have like the people in your lives and the people you meet and who may not know that side of you. And it's like I feel like in these, especially in the superhero movies, when they are keeping like this identity and stuff like that, you know, it's good to have those moments to show like, yeah, even though this person's like has powers or has, you know, superhuman abilities or whatever it is, you know, they have this other side to them where it's like they're able to like, you know, have relationships with people and whatnot. Or if it might be the opposite way, it might, you know, maybe it's hard for them to have relationships. But that's what makes, like, for me right now, like, especially all the MCU, like the current MCU stuff, like, you know, I'm taking it, you know, I'm taking it more positively because it's like, you know, especially I watched the Falcon Winter Soldier episode,
Oh, I
and
haven't seen that yet.
it's interesting, and you know, obviously it's MCU, they, you know, they make a splash, of course, but the way they're kind of going and addressing these characters now is very interesting. And
Well, no one has a secret identity in the MCU.
yeah, I guess that, yeah. And so like, yeah, them knowing who that person is, if they knew, like, yeah, it's so yeah. What I'm trying to say is like, yeah, you got to have that like emotional, you know, kind of string and connection with maybe some of the other characters in the film, or
Yeah.
you know, so if it's Martian the Manhunter or if it's like Green Lantern, you know, for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people when they meet Bruce Wayne, you know, they always bring up like his family and stuff. So it's like that, you know, is usually a, you know, an opportunity, like, hey, you know, I knew your family, you know, some sort of connection to that. So at least it can be more
Yeah.
impactful in the moment. So
There's,
anyways,
yeah,
that's a whole just thing on that. But yeah, those additions, like, and at the same time, when I watch the movie, it's just like, all right, we're getting Martian the Manhunter. Let's go. You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, I'm
whatever.
watching with all right, this is an Elseworlds one-off Snyder
Yeah.
specific thing. I'll take it. I'll
You
take
know,
it for what it is.
I almost wish he did more, like, I guess, to merit him being in the
Crazy
movie.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that
yeah. Oh,
was
absolutely.
the thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, those, I don't know. It's cut content, I feel. I mean, there could be a tighter movie in there for sure.
Oh, yeah. Let's quickly talk about Batman and the epilogue and do some wrap up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Batman.
Batman.
I thought this was the best Batman we've gotten from Zack Snyder. He wasn't the butt of the joke like he was in the Justice League 2017 movie. He's not a xenophobic murdering asshole like he was in BVS. Though he did fire guns, and I felt like that was personal. I took that very personally. Like, you know, he's firing those or whatever, the laser guns or whatever, killing the parademons, and I'm like, God, Batman with a gun, and
Yeah.
and then he goes and he gets like a Gatling gun version of the same thing, and it was just like, Zack Snyder's doing this to be like, see, Batman's got a gun. It felt like a personal attack on me, honestly. But I really liked how Batman was like, I'm having faith, Alfred. You know, and he's like, sir, how do you know, you know, Superman's going to come back? Faith, old friend, faith, you know. That, watching that, I was like, that feels like a Whedon thing. That does not feel like Zack Snyder. And that's one of those specific things where I strongly believe that would not have made it into a 2017 Zack Snyder Justice League.
Yeah.
That feels like something where he listened to feedback and criticism on the way he portrayed Batman and had 4 years to kind of sit on it and think about it, and was like, you know.
Yeah.
That is what that felt like to me. I don't know. What how did you feel about Batman in this?
Yeah, kind of similar. Like, he had, he wasn't kind of the butt of the joke. He had more. There were more moments where he was obviously like, he knew the the aftermath of like, Batman versus Superman, and Superman dying, and all the stuff that he represented. It was more apparent to me, like he Batman and Bruce Wayne, I guess, took something away from that happening in the last movie. So it felt more like he, found something in that, and then that obviously sparked him to obviously recruit the Justice League, and so that was a little bit stronger for me on this time around. Like, it felt like Batman was really like, I want to put this together to, to obviously honor like Superman and his name, and what he represents, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There were, like, we mentioned it, the Whedon, that scene, just save one life, like, those moments I wish I had in there, just to kind of, again, just, you could see that Batman is thinking like, it's, we're still trying to save people, we're still trying to do these things, no matter what, what our powers are or whatever. I liked this version of it, of Batman, for sure. The it Weirdly enough, I think I wouldn't say he had less screen time, but he felt like kind of more, not in the background, but he was definitely a very important part for a lot of the
More
things happening.
even in
More
terms
even,
of screen time with it. Yeah,
because
yeah.
you can highlight Batman, Wonder Woman, and maybe Aquaman. Like, you can highlight your three,
Which they
like,
did in the 2017 cut.
yeah, those the big, popular characters, like, for sure. But yeah, I did like how it was a little more even for a lot of the characters, where they got their moment, or they have this thing to do, or so. Batman was, definitely, and weirdly enough, there was some moments, I can't really think off the top of my head, in specifically, but we were getting like some of the kind of, detective Batman, like the, thinking Batman, using his smarts to kind of,
His mind skills.
his mind skills to assess the situation. So, and then we had that, I don't know if it was in the other version, but like the, the last kind of third act, and they're trying to destroy the tower, and we kind of give him that, everyone probably say it like that Iron Man sacrificial, kind of, but he knew, like, this is what I need to do, like, we have the plan, we have this, he seems, like, confident,
But
in the team and everything.
in both cuts, though, or I should say, in neither cut,
Yeah.
did it ever feel like Batman was in any real sort of mortal danger. Whereas in
Yeah.
Avengers, when Tony Stark goes up past the atmosphere and grabs the nuke and lets it go, you really think, oh, maybe he might die here,
Yeah,
and
you know
it
what?
makes the sacrifice that much
You make a
more
good point.
potent.
You make a good point there, dude. Because,
He
like,
talks like Batman talks about like sacrifice himself in the moment, and then it just doesn't happen.
yeah,
The team is
damn,
like, no,
dude.
we got you.
That's a very good. That's a very good thing
I
to think
know.
about. Yeah, and maybe that's why I felt like he was more even, kind of more, not in the background, but like, yeah, yeah. There are times where it's like, I wish, to make the stakes higher, to make it more like, this is like an insane threat for all these people. I think, Batman, he had his little scene, his couple fight scenes, and obviously his batarang moments, all the tools of the trade, like, that stuff's always super cool. But yeah, I think having those more kind of moments where, you're able to kind of get in, and kind of get in the mind of Bruce Wayne, and like how he's feeling about this whole thing. Like, I know you've did Batman versus Superman. I know you like versed like a god, pretty much. You try to take on like some, this powerful being, but like, this threat that's here right now is pretty crazy. Like, if you think about it, like, these guys could like terraform this world and just take over Earth, like, and that, again, the kind of sense of urgency, and maybe that's just, Batman just being the, just straight face, like, not trying to have all his emotions kind of, get in the way of what he's doing, or decisions and stuff like that. But I kind of wanted that with Ben Affleck's like Bruce Wayne, like more conflict with his inner thoughts on being the Batman at this time of his career or whatever.
See, I
Or
like that we didn't get that.
yeah, we didn't get
Because
much
like
of that.
I feel like every
So
cinematic Batman is wrestling with, I don't really want to be Batman anymore. And if you read the Batman in the comics, he's like, no, I'm Batman. There is no Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they if you read Justice League Kingdom Come, he's like 80 something or whatever the fuck, and he's built all these robots to patrol Gotham. He's always going, he's just down in his cave monitoring.
that's
He's
so cool.
like, he's always, I don't care for the, I'm wrestling with, should I give up being Batman or not. I that's not, to me, that's not the
Yeah,
character. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He's going to be Batman until his last breath, I believe. But
yeah.
overall, we liked it better, I think.
Yeah.
Let's get to the epilogue, and I think we know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
because there's an epilogue, and then there's the nightmare sequence. I think we're talking about the nightmare sequence, are we not?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So we get the future team of Batman, Cyborg, Flash, and Mira, and Deathstroke.
A Deathstroke too, yeah.
And then you get Jared Leto's Joker. What did you think of this?
It's a very interesting thing, because like if they were gonna make more movies, which they're probably not, right? It's interesting of like, it's like a what if situation, right? Like it's interesting to the point of like, oh, this could have happened, and like this is crazy. Like this team, you're trying to piece together like, how did it become just this team, and I kind of recognize the nightmare sequence from like, Batman versus Superman, and like how is this kind of adding to that? So it intrigued me to that degree, as far as like, man, this is crazy. Like we'll get to see this, but we're never going to really see the aftermath of this unless, I don't think they're going to do any more movies, but, I could see them maybe doing like an animated I could see them continuing the story if they wanted to. But it could have been cut out of the movie. Like this whole epilogue could have been, I mean, aside for a few things, but like to wrap things up with characters, but it literally
doesn't wrap anything up. It only invites more fucking questions.
It's weird. It's like I enjoyed it. But it was like, man, it's kind of disorienting, because like I know this movie's not gonna really come out, so like I'm gonna be stuck here with like the hope of like, oh, well, this is not gonna happen. But like I get like, oh yeah, Zack Snyder, like, was this like your intentional, like how you wanted the kind of direction of the movies to go, and like maybe you just give us a peek into like that. And it's like, why the fuck not, if we're doing like a 4-hour movie anyway? So like, I liked it for that aspect, but it was definitely like, you could have, I was expecting like even though we know the runtime is long, I was expecting like, okay, like I kind of remember how like the last Justice League ended, and they could wrap it up like kind of a this specific way, maybe the characters, the Hall of Justice, that kind of stuff. Here's the circular table and all that. Like, it could have ended there, like I would have been cool with that.
Should have ended there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was, the part where I was like, oh man, like we didn't really need this, but at least it's out there. Like, and probably it might confuse a lot of people, because they're like, oh, maybe the next movie's coming out, but like that's not really happening. So it's like, then the Joker, I just, Jared Leto is, I think he's a good actor. He's been in some very interesting and polarizing roles that I've seen him in. I just don't like, and this is just me, I just don't like his version of the Joker. It's just like, it feels like a mishmash of just like all the different renditions of Joker we've seen, and it just doesn't really make sense. I am intrigued with like Batman working with the Joker. Like that's an interesting concept. I don't know what he like, and I just don't know. I don't know. It's just like way out of left. It just felt so way out of left field. And I don't know if like they're with the intention of like, you should have seen like, or you would have seen Suicide Squad, so you would be introduced to that Joker, and you kind of know, like,
I think it's a different it's a different joke because you don't have the tattoos or anything.
Oh, you're right, dude. Damn. So you could have man, you could have chose like anyone else.
I mean, the epilogue scene encapsulates Zack Snyder as a filmmaker for me. I don't. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh my god, it looked beautiful." I think it looked drab. I don't think it. That nightmare sequence looks good. I think it just saturation or desaturation, whatever the fuck it is. It just looks. It's not pretty. It's whatever.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have characters talking to each other, and it wants to sound deep. It wants to sound intellectual. It wants to sound, like all these things. And it's just not. It's just the poor man's version of these things. It's when dumb people try to act smart, it's just great. It's like nails on a fucking chalkboard. Whatever the Joker's saying, it's not as profound as the movie wants you to think it is. And then to have Batman drop an F-bomb
Yeah, that's right.
and go, and believe me, I will fucking kill you. He didn't even like put a pronunciate. He didn't even, I will fucking kill you. It was, and believe me, I'll fucking kill you. It was like, what?
Yeah.
We're
almost like
finally
slurred
going to
the
give
word.
Batman an F word, and he's just kind of going to let it roll off his tongue.
You can make that make it stronger.
What I liked, the Harley Quinn TV show, all the characters cuss in that, except for Batman. And I like, that's what won me over with that show. It's like, you understand the character. You understand, you know what I mean? Because none of these characters need to be R-rated. None of these characters need to drop F-bombs. But if you're going to go that route, Batman is your moral center, and you've had him not cuss. And I'm like, oh, okay, I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's still kind of that larger than life, heroic, always a hero, always doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I still don't know how to feel. I mean, I don't think anytime soon, but I'll probably rewatch because I watched it in part, like I split it in half pretty much. So it would be interesting. So I guess that's a question I want to ask you, Joey. Is like, because you were telling me off air, like you watched it all in one sitting, and how did that feel? Did you feel the runtime? Did you kind of?
I mean, we were taking breaks to pee or take Mart out or do whatever.
Yeah, and there's
I think it would have been
right.
Whatever. I mean, I think it would have been intimidating to go into a movie theater. It was. I remember going into to see The Irishman and being like, "Fuck, I gotta go pee at the very last moment before the trailers start coming on." You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be in it. I'm not getting up. Yeah. So there wasn't that pressure on. The pressure was, it's a Thursday night. I got work tomorrow. I got to get up early.
Yeah.
And we started at around 7:30. So,
Yeah, a
we're up
little
till
into the night. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I thought, I think the pacing issues are when the overuse of slow motion. But for the most part, I thought it moved okay. How about you?
Yeah, like the first like 3 chapters or whatever, like I was like I was like, yo, this is interesting. Like, so I think it definitely successfully, I bet you anything, for a lot of people, it probably hooked a lot of people in, like, oh, this is, but yeah, there were a lot of moments, even in the first couple chapters, I was like, man, they could cut, like,
because you don't get any heroes on screen for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, you get some Amazonians, but Batman doesn't appear on screen until,
you're right. Yeah.
Like, what, the Nightcrawler? And that's like 2 hours into the fucking movie or some shit.
Yeah, you're right, dude.
Pretty crazy.
Which, it's cool that, like, at least they're able to take these first few chapters or this first kind of half of the movie, and introduce us to, like, the mother boxes and, what that is and what that means, especially moving into the movie, and why they're, like, chasing this thing. And so, like, I felt like the pacing was, like, all right, but at least for me, and it felt like it did a better job at, like, explaining, okay, like, this is why these people are here. Obviously I wish we had more on like Steppenwolf and they're kind of more of their motives and why they're doing this. Cause like, I don't know why they get joy out of conquering like 50,000 worlds. You know what I mean? Like what's the, are you just like, are you guys breeding? Like, are you just like trying to just spread out to all the masses or,
That's funny. Cause that shit doesn't really bother me. It's like, okay, powerful people want more power.
But
Whatever.
I don't know. When they drop 50,000 worlds, I'm like, oh, that's just like ridiculous.
Would you ask that of Thanos though? Do you ask that question of Thanos?
Yeah, but like, did he say like 50,000 worlds too? Like,
no. I mean, he didn't say 50,000 worlds, but I mean, he's still a conqueror. Like, why is a conqueror a conqueror? Because you do it once and it feels good.
It feels good. You get power and all that stuff. I don't know. I just laughed I honestly laughed really hard, like out loud, when they said 50,000 worlds or something, or like, it's like,
oh yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's all ridiculous. That's the thing, and it takes itself so fucking seriously.
So
for the most time, it does.
So the 4 hours, like really. Especially as it kind of got to like maybe a little after where they kind of save Cyborg's like father and like a little after that, or was it a little before? There's like a little lull moment kind of in the middle of the movie, and the third act, it's obviously spectacle and all that kind of stuff. That all that stuff was definitely. I had to split the movie in half, but at least I was in, I wasn't like, I wasn't on my phone or anything like that. I was legit just like sitting here watching this movie and trying to turn off that part of my brain that's like, I've seen this before. And that was the part that was, I think, probably the toughest for me. And I'm usually not like, like, oh man, I don't really have that mentality usually when I watch movies, but the Justice League 2017 Whedon, like that cut released, like it was like I didn't like that movie. Like and it was very, we talked about obviously on the podcast before, but yeah, it really got me. So I maybe it was also the initial intrigue of just like how's this movie gonna be? Like, am I gonna enjoy the movie? I think that's it. Like, I was like so intrigued by that. Like, what's gonna happen in this? Like, you got 4 hours to tell this story, man. Like, what are you gonna tell us?
It wound up being the same fucking story. Ultimately, right?
Ultimately, yeah. So yeah, pacing's a tough thing with movies, and I especially with shows for me now. I don't say I'm too picky these days, but man, if a show doesn't like pace well. I sometimes give up on it, honestly, and I'm not, I
like this show.
Yeah, our pacing, it's all right. It's all right. We've been doing good.
It's all right. Final thoughts.
I am glad this movie exists. I think it's an interesting time. I was excited to see it. Like, as far as just like, wow, this is a different thing, kind of a very different director's cut, I would say. So like, and then, of course we're in this, like, pretty much streaming is what's the kind of way to consume, movies and content these days, because of the pandemic. And obviously this, you were saying earlier, the 4 hour format and like probably not being able to put this in a theater and make their money off of that. I am at least happy that it exists and that at least Zack Snyder was able to push this out. And I'm probably gonna rewatch it and maybe just enjoy it for what it is, and just kind of see it as, how I kind of mostly see most superhero movies. Like, they're not the most serious things for me, but at the same time, like, I do wish there was more, and that's what I still like about superhero movies, if anything, is like the humanity and the kind of relatability of it with the characters. And I just wish they could have nailed that a little bit more, even though we got more time with Cyborg and some of these other new characters that we got. I think there could have been something there, and I do hope they obviously see this movie and maybe even I wouldn't say the criticism, but like hopefully with DC moving forward, and the kind of movie universe they put together, I'm interested to see more, and I want to see other people and other directors kind of have their visions for these certain characters, and it's a very interesting time because I'm not really sure what DC is going to be doing. I think they're doing like the Flash movie, which I'm still like super confused with. Like, so this Snyderverse thing is like
Final thoughts on Justice League, Sean.
Oh, okay. So, I'm glad it was made. At least it's out there. It's a very interesting and different situation compared to a lot of like director's cuts or like maybe things that have been released like this. So it's a very unique situation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. How about you, Joe?
Wow.
What are your kind of concluding thoughts?
I didn't hate it. I
was surprised when you texted me the other day. I was like, holy shit. Like he just said he liked it. Like
I liked it for what it was. Batman only kills parademons.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And yeah, I thought the score was better. The Junkie XL score was
the music was different. You're right.
Switched out for the Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman cannibalized his previous Batman score and the old John Williams Superman score and stuff, where this one was its own thing. I will say that whatever the fuck they were playing whenever Wonder Woman was on screen was wild. I did not like it. You heard like this woman's voice like, ah, and there were a couple cuts where like that music came on and Diana's mouth was open. I was like, is that coming from her? But yeah, so I don't know. Overall though, a much better experience. I think it's my second favorite Zack Snyder movie behind Dawn of the Dead. And yeah, I'm glad it exists as it's as a piece of content and not as a theatrical release.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Damn. Justice League. I feel like we could have gone harder on that movie, but
and maybe someday we will.
We got an episode for the 17 version, and yeah.
I'm curious to go listen to our thoughts on
that. I was about to say I think I might do that. Just like, what did we say about this movie back in the day? And I'm sure we were hating on it like pretty hard, but yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just cool. We got to see it, and I subscribe to HBO Max, and like it's just like, oh shit, this is here. I can watch it now. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Jonathan, do you have anything non-Justice League related that you'd like to share with our dear, sweet, lovely imaginary audience this week?
Non-Justice League related. What? Let's see here. Did we already talk about?
Don't you?
What's up?
I think you have an EP coming out.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just off the top of my head. I was like, did I say this last week? Or last time? Yeah. My production group, the Sonic Riders, is coming out with an EP. It has 5 songs on it. It's called Synthesis. Trying to remember how we came up with that name in the end, but yeah, hopefully it's a synthesis of different sounds for you guys. So yeah, it comes out Friday, March 26th, on all streaming platforms. And there's also, if you go to the Sonic Riders on our Instagram, there's a little link in the bio, and you guys can like pre-save the EP if you would like to pre-save that and have that queued up for when it releases. But I'm actually really excited. It's I call these the quarantine songs, because when quarantine happened in March, it was just like, oh well, we're all stuck inside, so we're just gonna like just bust out a lot of ideas. And that's what happened is Maddie and I, we busted out a bunch of ideas, and then over the last few months, we've slowly we would like make the idea, and then kind of like we'll come back and revisit it and kind of mold it up a little bit. And so that was kind of the process. And actually, as of like this week, I think we have like 30 odd tracks, like just kind of
cool
done at least. And they'll either be I'm not sure if we'll release them or if we're going to use them. We've been doing like TV pitching and stuff like that. But we felt like these 5 songs that are going to be on the EP really kind of captured that time that we're the quarantining and all that stuff, and kind of the sounds we were kind of messing with, and so yeah, I'm excited for it, and at least we have some new music for people to listen to and check us out on. So, and then I'm getting excited because we're gonna be doing a Blind Issues EP as well, and we're kind of getting in the process of like how we're gonna release that too. So I'm excited for like this year. It's like just releasing music. I think that's like the goal this year is to release more music. So check it out. Friday, the 26th of March, it'll be out on streaming platforms.
Yeah. Love that.
Joey, what do you have to share this week?
I got nothing. I did my taxes.
Oh, I gotta do that too, man.
Yeah, H&R Block. It was very easy. The woman helping me was like, "Oh, big student loan, MFA." Just my bachelor. She goes, "Oh."
Just like
wonderful.
right.
Tina, I loved her. She helped me a lot. Yeah, and I'm currently reading Ask the Dust by John Fonte.
Ooh.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, just a quick little thing on it.
I don't know yet. It's Depression era novel about a wannabe writer living in Los Angeles. In fact, reading about it is apparently it's like the quintessential Los Angeles book. So when I'm done with it, I'm going to lend it to you.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
And they've even named, I think, the square John Fonte Square across from the Los Angeles Public Library.
Yeah. Okay.
After him. So
got you. Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's Bukowski's hero. So, and Bukowski's my hero. So I'm gonna not hero. I don't want to be like him. I just want to write like him. So yeah. So I'm learn your heroes always.
Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
But there we go.
Nice.
Jonathan, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
Let's see here. You guys can find me on Instagram at Sean Day Music. Slowly starting to get into Twitter, so you guys can find me on Twitter at the same tag, and then on my website seandaymusic.net. Joey, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can check me out on Twitter and on Instagram at Joey Prodi, and on my website, joeyprodi.com. You can check out the show at Top 5 Pod. That's TOPFIVE 5 POD on Instagram, on Twitter, at gmail.com, on YouTube, on Anchor, which includes Spotify and Apple Music and Google Play and SoundCloud, and yes, even Facebook at Top 5 Podcast. So please give us a like, give us a listen, give us a follow, give us your love, and we will give you
man, just lots of love in return, man. I've been in such a loving mood lately, so
that's wonderful. That's
there
wonderful.
You go.
I'm gonna add justice to that.
Justice.
Justice. Until next time, I'm Joey Prodi.
And I'm Sean Day.
Thanks. Listen.